Joining me right now is UFC welterweight Zak Ottow. What's going on, Zach?
Not much, man. Just training. You know how it is.
Of course, man. Um, your last fight, it was in your hometown. You got the victory over Dwight Grant. You have been involved in a few close decisions in the past, going both ways. What was it like, when they are reading out the judges' scorecards and you know it's going to be a split decision?
Um, well, when you're in there, it's hard to gauge exactly how the fight is going. If I'm not dominating, then I kind of feel like I might even be losing. There was a couple of split decisions I had there where I felt really confident. I mean, if you look at the stats and everything, like when I fought Berkman or Kunamoto, I was pretty surprised when I started to hear the cards being read off like a split decision. I thought Kunamoto, it was a clear 2 rounds to one, and so 29-28 across the board is what I was expecting. When you start to hear the cards being read off and you don't know who the winner is going to be, it's kind of like, what the hell's going on? Like I thought I clearly won that fight. This last one was different, though. The Sergio fight down in Brazil, and then this one too. I could see how they could go either way. Down in Brazil, I didn't get that one. Went to my opponent, and now in Milwaukee, this one came to me. So, um, it's frustrating, but you're fighting some of the best guys in the world, and you're just trying to win some rounds and figure out how to capitalize each round on these people. And then next thing the fight's done, and you leave it all out there, and then that's all you can do about it. So I'm just happy to get this last one, get a win here, and then now get on a roll with the next one.
Yeah, a lot of people, fans, they kind of focus a lot more on the physical aspect of the sport, but going through those decisions must be really mentally draining. Does that have an effect on you?
No, I mean it's not. It's actually built some mental confidence. Now having over an hour inside the octagon now, it really gives me a lot of confidence moving forward and just comfortability being in there. I know that with these other great athletes, great fighters, I can win minutes on the clock, and I've been in fights where there's stand-up grappling, everything. I've lost rounds and come back to win rounds, and all those ups and downs and adversity that you got to deal with and stuff. And if you're just going in there and just throwing down, and you'll see a lot of people get to the UFC and they haven't been outside the first round yet in their MMA career, and then now they start to get in some deep water in the UFC. That's not when you want to be going through those experiences for your first time. So it's a good thing, I think, early on to have a lot of time in there, and now I'm ready to get back to finishing these opponents like I did on the regional level.
Definitely. Going back to the Sergio fight, you see Brazil recently. Some guys went down there, and fought, and the decision didn't go their way either. Do you have a close experience with that? When you see things like that happening continuously, what is your feelings on that?
I don't think it has anything to do with like judges being corrupt or anything. What I think it has to do with is just the energy in the crowd. You can't help but have that influence the judge. Say, Sergio Moraes and we get into an exchange, and I land a punch, the crowd doesn't react, and then the judge almost wonders, did that even land? How clean did that land? But then Sergio might throw some punches, nothing lands cleanly, but the whole crowd reacts and cheers. It makes it seem like, oh, something landed there, and so it kind of over the course of a round can kind of sway your judgment, I feel. And so I feel like it's more the crowd energy playing into that and kind of manipulating a little bit, what the judges see and don't see.
So to fix this problem, should the judges be outside of the arena, do you think?
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, I'm not really sure how you fix it. For me, it came back around for me. I
Mm.
fought in Milwaukee, worked out on my side, so I've been on the bad side of it. I've been on the good side of it. The best thing you can do is not leave it to the judges' scorecards. Not have close fights. Finish your fight, and then you don't have to worry about that. So.
Well, let's talk about your next fight, March 9th. You're going to take on Alex Morono. Now, this guy is a guy that you want to fight. And usually when you call out guys, it doesn't work out that way, but it's worked out for you. So why does this fight intrigue you so much?
It didn't work out for a while, but they finally listened and made. Oh, well, he was calling me out too, so it was kind of, we both wanted it. And nothing personal. I don't know the guy. I've never trained with him, never met him. But I think just on paper, it makes sense. We're both going into our 8th UFC fight with 4 wins inside the UFC and a lot of other similarities. He's a pretty well-rounded guy, and he's not. And nobody's easy at this level, especially not this guy for sure. But I just think that wherever the fight goes, I'll be better. And if it's a kickboxing match, if it was a wrestling match, if it was a jiu-jitsu match, I feel like I could beat him in all those categories. And I feel like this is a guy that I can really control where I take the fight. I can take it wherever I need to. There was other fights I've had in the UFC that somebody was really good in one area, and so then it kind of limited me as a fighter as far as where I wanted to fight. If somebody's a 3-time jiu-jitsu world champion, I'm not going to be wanting to take him down like crazy. I want to try to keep it standing. So, but then you kind of put yourself in a little box as far as what you can do. So I like the Alex Morono fight because I feel like I can just free myself up, free my game up, and I can take the fight wherever I want to and mix up all the different disciplines.
What challenges does Alex pose for you, though?
He's got some things that he does pretty well, some stuff in the stand-up, and he's got some really good front chokes, some good guillotines and stuff like that he's caught people with before that, even down on the regional level, maybe, losing some rounds or losing the fight, and then, he's able to get a choke and stuff. So he's got some slick submissions and stuff. I don't know. I think, he wings shots and stuff like that, but I think it's too sloppy to the point where it's losing power. I don't think he's got the power to put me down. He puts out some decent volume, so definitely got to come in shape. But I really like the matchup. I feel like I have the skills to beat this guy.
Training for this fight coming up in Wichita, is there anything new you have incorporated, or is it business as usual?
Business as usual. It's just that I actually got more notice on this one to actually put in a training camp. A lot of the fights I've had in the UFC have been on very short notice, or, I was, there's injuries and sicknesses and stuff that come up, and, you just got to try to fight through it. This is one where I got time to prep, feeling pretty healthy and feeling good and stuff. So, I'm just excited to get in there and go in there with a full training camp. We've got great teammates, great coaching staff at our gym, doing my speed of sport, strength and conditioning training with Nick Belegas. And yeah, I feel like everything's clicking right now. So get a full 6 weeks in here instead of like 2.5 weeks, and don't have to worry about some crash diet or anything like that, and go in there and get the job done.
Yeah, you have taken a few short notice fights, and you just mentioned the crash dieting. Now you get to kind of cut the weight from throughout a long period of time. What exact changes to your body do you feel?
Just more energy for my workouts. Sometimes when you're crash dieting and you're trying to get ready for a fight and you're trying to get in really good shape, it's hard to do both. One takes away from the other. So going into, say, a workout where you're going to hit a very high intensity level and you have very limited amount of food in your system, maybe just the amount of carbohydrates to barely get you through that workout, it's going to be tough to push through at the end of that workout and push yourself, get to that next limitation. So now with the gradual dieting down, you're just able to get in better workouts.
This is the last fight on your UFC contract. what exactly affected your decision to not re-up immediately?
That was not my decision.
Mm.
The UFC more now is letting people fight out their contract and then go from there. So, yeah, I didn't have the option to renew yet. The fight came in, and usually at that point, when a fight comes in, if it is time that they want to offer you a new contract, that's when that new contract would come in, is when the bout agreement came in. And it didn't come in on this one. So just the bout agreement came in. So, uh, it's a good and a bad thing. It's based on this performance quite a bit, and where they want to go with me, and maybe what pay they want to give me. So I got to make sure I go in there and perform well.
When you see a former opponent like Sage Northcutt move over to one championship, what do you believe that means for the landscape of MMA right now?
Maybe that just the UFC isn't such a monopoly that people think. There's some very large markets out there all over the world. MMA is becoming a very global sport, and there's other organizations out there that pay adequately and have a big following. And here in the United States, sometimes we think that the end all be all is the UFC, but other organizations are gaining steam, and there's other people out there to fight for. It's not that Sage didn't belong in the UFC. It's just came down to money, and he made that decision. I think go somewhere else. Best of luck to him, and maybe he'll be back in the UFC, maybe not. We'll see. But I'm happy with the UFC, and this is where I'd like to stay. So I'd like to win this fight here in a big way, and then re-sign with the UFC after this.
You're 32 years old. You've been competing for many years now. You had some incredible wins, some close fights. What stage do you believe you are at in your career moving forward?
I feel like I'm just really reaching my prime. I didn't start training in really any martial arts at all until after my 23rd birthday. And, I got to this level, and I think it takes a while for people to get really good at all the different disciplines. There's so many techniques to learn, and in all the different, right, the stand-up and grappling and all that. And I feel like I'm hitting a peak as far as physically, and then also just I've been around the game long enough to where, I got my style about me, and knowing all the different techniques and stuff like that. So I feel like the next couple of years is going to be my chance to reach my full potential.
The welterweight division has been very interesting as of late. You got Woodley, he's going to fight Usman. You got Covington going around bashing the UFC. Is there a lesson to be learned from the Colby Covington situation?
Oh man, I don't know, man. I just keep my head down. I look forward to the next fight, at this point. Until you get to that point where maybe you can start to, say stuff like that. I don't know. It's just not me. Kobe's a different kind of guy. He's going to just say whatever's on his mind. He doesn't have much of a filter. And, maybe it's created some fans for him, but it's also, I think, made a lot of people not like him so much. And, I'm just trying to be me out there. I'm not trying to be somebody else. And it's just not my style.
On March 9th, you get past Alex. What can we see from you for the rest of the year?
I like to stay active as long as I'm healthy and everything's good. Like I said, I'm 32. I think I'm reaching my peak. Everything's coming together at the right time. A lot of people get in this game late, and then by the time they really start to get good at everything, they're 38, and then they're losing their speed and agility and their reactions, time and everything. I feel like everything's clicking right now. I'm 32. I'm in my physical prime, so I want to keep pushing. I'd like to get at least 3 fights in this year. A big win here. I'd like to fight in June in Chicago. It's close to home, and keep the ball rolling. I want to be in the top 20 by the end of the year.
All right. UFC on ESPN +4, Wichita, Kansas. Thank you for your time, Zach, and good luck on your fight, sir.
I appreciate it. Good talking to you.